Hey guys, and welcome back to round 10 of the CustomF1 season. CustomF1, if you're new to this series, is where I create my own Formula 1 team, enter it into the 1994 Formula 1 season, and you guys just watch along as we aim for championship glory. Of course, we're starting right at the bottom with the worst car, a poor set of drivers, and as the seasons progress, things will dynamically change. They might not be the same as what they are in real life. Some drivers might go to different teams. Maybe Michael Schumacher will sign for McLaren instead of Ferrari, for example. So you'll have to wait and see. It'll be very exciting, and you're here to join me along this amazing journey. We don't actually have any news today, so there is no Josh Cassar Super Gazelle news section. We're straight into qualifying, and the session was damp. It was raining at the start of the session, actually. My first lap was quite good compared to everybody else. I think I was actually about 15th to 16th place, but as the track has dried out, I've fallen down the order. I'm now in 27th out of 28. I think the 28th place driver has not actually set a time yet, so I'm basically last, and I'm on the soft tyres. I have to stick really to the racing line. If I veer off the racing line even slightly, the damp conditions mean that I'm going to lose so much time. And right now I am improving on my previous best, which was maybe a 206, a 207, which would be, you know, outside of the 107% rule, I'm pretty sure, as Ayrton Senna's provisional pole time right now is a 156.1, as I just run wide there, and as we complete the second sector, I'm up by 1.2 seconds, so it's looking pretty decent, but I don't think I'll be troubling any of the usual suspects in qualifying. This looks like a poor qualifying run for me. I'd be happy with anything that's not last place right now, as I'm just not cut out for these conditions. You guys know what it's like on F1 Challenge, racing on a drying track. It's difficult against your competitors, but we're into the old bus stop chicane to complete this qualifying lap. Full speed all the way, pretty much, apart from that bump there. And we run wide, and that's going to lose us time, and that is not good. Losing valuable time as we fit across the line. It's a 204.1. It's a personal best, but it does not improve any position. We're 27th out of 28 right now. Are we going to qualify 28th and last? Let's have a look at the qualifying results. So here we have the qualifying results for the Belgian Grand Prix. It's a Williams front row, Ayrton Senna on pole ahead of Damon Hill in second place. Then it's a Benetton second row, Schumacher ahead of Verstappen. Then it's a Ferrari third row, Alesi ahead of Larini. A McLaren fourth row, Hakkinen ahead of Brundle. A Tyrrell fifth row, Blundell ahead of Katayama. You can see a theme forming here. And it's a Sauber 6th row, De Cesaris ahead of Frentzen, and then a break in the usual theme, Bernard and Barrichello, Ligier and Jordan on the 7th row of the grid. Now to the second half of the standings, Gianni Morbidelli in 15th place ahead of Eddie Irvine, Christian Fittipaldi in the second, Footwork down in 17th place, and Panis in the second, Ligier down in 18th. Then the 10th row of the grid consists of Minardis, Alboreto and Martini, LaRouche drivers Beretta and Comas on the following row of the grid. Kaya Mahendra for once a decent qualifying session. He qualifies up in 23rd, followed by the two Simtex of Ratzenberger and Brabham. The two Lotus drivers once again very disappointing. Their form seems to be so, I'm just going to say unwavering, but not in a good way. Johnny Herbert on his return, I should have pointed that out. Johnny Herbert returning today is in 26th ahead of his teammate Alessandro Zanardi, and Mika Salo 8 seconds off pole position, starts 28th and last place. So we all know this circuit, it's Spa, it's in Belgium, it's one of the longest tracks. I think it is the longest track on the 1994 calendar at just shy of 7 kilometers in length, and features a massive 20 corners, and due to the length of the track, that's why we only have 44 racing laps today. And unlike qualifying, the current conditions are dry and the predicted conditions are also dry, and both streamlined cars going for a two-stop strategy. Mika Salo starting from last place is going to pit on lap 18 and 33, whereas his teammate Kaya Mahendra starting 23rd is going to go for a slightly shorter first stint and pit on lap 13 and then pit on lap 28 for the final time. Well, there's only one more thing to do, and that's go racing. The 1994 Belgian Grand Prix is next. And here we are on the grid. 3 lights, 4 lights and 5. The 1994 Belgian Grand Prix is underway. And what sort of start can Salo get from the back of the grid? The 2 Lotus drivers getting away quite well in front of him. But as they all concertina up into the first corner, I run straight to the back of Zanardi there. No damage done to either car, and I'm going to side my way up the inside of both Lotus drivers and both Simtek drivers into the first corner, as there's my teammate now, Kaya Mahendra, going side by side with, I believe that's Pierluigi Martini in the Minardi. Surely they're not going to go side by side up through Eau Rouge, and now I've got a run on my teammate. I go straight side by side with him up through Eau Rouge, like I just said he would not do with Martini in the Minardi in front. I've done exactly that on my teammate. We're up to 23rd already. What a great start from Mika Salo. I'm just checking there to see if I have any damage, and I don't. And as you can see here, the setup is really suited to this track, especially up through the Kemmel Straight, like I've just demonstrated there. So, well, slipstream past Martini really easily. I've got great top speed, and as you guys will probably remember at the start of the season, I was struggling with the setup of the car. I could not maximise the straight line speed, and we were really struggling, especially in that opening race. Cars were just going past me left, right and centre down that main straight at Brazil. I've sorted it for these races, especially this race, and it seems to have paid off. Sadly, we could not get the lap together in qualifying. I made multiple mistakes on my fastest lap, as you saw, but that was due to the track conditions. Hopefully in the race, with race trim, race fuel and the setup I'm running, we'll have a great race. And here's the view from the front of the grid, off the lights. Ayrton Senna gets a great start and leads into turn 1, but Damon Hill challenging him up the inside into the hairpin, but cannot make the move stick, and the Williams pair remain first and second. Senna ahead of Hill as they head down towards Eau Rouge and up through Radion for the first time in this race. On to lap 2, and it's clear that I'm actually faster than all these drivers around me. I lose a lot of time in the middle sector, but in the first and third sectors I'm faster than, I'd say, the majority of the gridders. Look, I'm going past Comas, I'm going past Alboreto. It's that easy with the setup I've got. I'm already up to P20. Maybe there's a possibility that we could finish, I don't want to jinx it, but we could finish maybe top 15. That's if everybody finished a race with no retirements. Possibly a top 10 is on the cards with the usual amount of retirements. We'll have to wait and see. Lap 3 and the Lotus of Johnny Herbert is smoking away, which will, of course, bring an end to his Belgian Grand Prix. Not even completing 3 laps of the race, he's the first retirement of this Grand Prix. So Alesi right now ahead of the Benetton of Verstappen, and Larini chasing down that Benetton as well, as we're now on lap 3 of this Grand Prix. And that's Larini, goes straight off. That must be a big accident. Oh, he's just managed to slow the car down before hitting into the wall at Eau Rouge. That could have been an absolutely massive accident, but engine failure brings an end to the Ferrari man's day. Moving on to lap 5, I've closed up to the back of Beretta. It's taken me a few laps, but there we go with the superior straight line speed. It's an easy move for me. I moved past the LaRousse. I'm up to 18th place. Olivier Panis in the Ligier, he might be a bit too quick for me, so I think we're already up to the position where our pace has determined. 18th place is good though. We'll just hope for some retirement and maybe we can move up the order. My original plan was to pit at lap 15, pit lap 30 for a really straightforward 2-stop strategy, and I put the amount of fuel in for 15 laps, or what I thought was the amount of fuel for 15 laps, but the consumption, maybe due to the setup I'm running, is much lower than expected, so I've got enough fuel to carry me all the way to maybe even halfway distance, or maybe lap 20 if I really wanted to, so we could stretch this into a 1-stop. But I've got that glitch where if I start on the hard tyres, I can only select the soft tyres for my pit stop. So if I really wanted to do a 1-stop, we'd be struggling on the soft tyres for the second stint. But right now we're in 18th place. I'm not really pulling away from the Minardis behind me. So I think I've found my pace. I'm just in front of the Minardis. Morbidelli's 3 and a bit seconds ahead. As we reach quarter race distance, Senna leads from Schumacher. Hill is in 3rd now. Alesi in 4th, Verstappen in 5th, and Brundle, as we're looking at here, is in 6th place ahead, once again, of his McLaren teammate, Mika Häkkinen. Mika Salo, who I am of course driving as, is into the top 20. Both the Minardis 19th and 20th as well. At the end of lap 14, the race leader Ayrton Senna is into the pits for his first start of, I can only assume, 2 scheduled pit stops, and that means his teammate Damon Hill rounding the first corner, takes the lead of the Belgian Grand Prix. But he's very close on the exit there, as there's a Simtek getting in the way. Senna's just rejoined right behind his teammate. Lap 15 and Eric Comas, who's actually right behind me on track. I think it's suspension failure or engine failure that brings an end to his race, but he is now the third retirement of this Belgian Grand Prix. And a couple laps later, for some reason, Senna is into the pits again. It's only lap 16. I have no idea what's going on. Maybe there's some sort of technical issue. I thought at this point maybe he's coming to retire, but he's not. It seems to be a scheduled stop. So Senna's going to lose a whole host of time. And eventually, on lap 20, Damon Hill is into the pits for his first stop, and that means Michael Schumacher is going to take the lead. So now Schumacher, who has already had a pit stop, is now in the net race lead. Senna is about 10 seconds back. At half race distance, Michael Schumacher leads the way now. We're looking at the number 4 Tyrrell of Mark Blundell, who's currently up in 8th place, nearing the points. But so far, there's not actually been too many retirements in the race. It seems to be a low rate of retirements for the Belgian Grand Prix, which means Blundell will most likely not score any points. My stint has been really straightforward. It's lap 22, that's half race distance. I'm into the pits for my first out of 2 scheduled stops. You may have thought I would go on to a one-stop strategy, but it's a short pit lane anyway. You only lose maybe 13-14 seconds, and I thought it's worth having fresh tyres for 2 stints rather than worn-out tyres. And knowing me, I'd spin and crash towards the end of the race if I stayed on soft tyres for 22 laps. So I'm going to put in about 10 laps worth of fuel, and we're going to rejoin just in, well, a lot of traffic. There's a Benetton that goes to that. Might be Michael Schumacher. I've rejoined in 19th. We've got Beretta behind in the LaRousse, and we've got Michele Alboreto in front in the Minardi, who's jumped us through those pit stops. But we're going to move side by side. He doesn't even see me there. He forces me off. Very strange. We're trying to move past the Minardi here of Alboreto, move side by side down the Kemmel Straight. We've got the position. So we're back up into 18th place. We'll see if we can stick with the Benetton in front. Maybe that'll be the strategy. And hopefully... Oh, we've been pushed off the track there by Alboreto. Picked up maybe a bit of damage. We're going to rejoin the track. That was very strange. We got no damage, luckily. And there's Martini behind. And my teammate Mahendra. And now we're side by side with Mahendra. Mahendra goes straight into the back of me. And again. And we spin around. I thought I lost my rear wing there, but we've still got no damage. We're going to lose a whole host of time. But what the hell was going on there? Forced off firstly by Alboreto, and then my teammate Kai Mahendra crashes into me. The two Jordans have been battling away for the most part in this race, but on lap 24 it's going to come undone for one of them. The Brazilian Rubens Barrichello pulling off the track. That looks to be suspension failure. He's out of the race. Okay, on to lap 25. We're chasing down Brabham. I can't comprehend what happened the other lap with both my own teammate and one of the Minardis. It was so strange. And right now I'm racing on Rage as we go side by side down the hill with Brabham. It's an easy move on the Simtek driver. Next up is Alessandro Zanardi, whose teammate Herbert, of course, retired really early on. I think it was lap 3 with engine failure on his return to the sport after about 7 races missed, I believe. But he's back now in place of Philippe Adams, and we might move past Zanardi here. It might be that easy. Move up the inside, but Zanardi holds the place. The Lotus driver still in 21st, and we have to settle for 22nd. But on the following lap, I have a much better run on Zanardi. And am I going to try it up the inside of Eau Rouge, up through Radion? I move ahead of the Lotus driver. That was a daring move. But with the current situation, after being hit off the track by my teammate, I'm in no mood to stay behind and wait for the easy overtaking opportunity down the Kemmel Straight. I'm just going for every move I can. The two footworks line astern on track once again. It's Fittipaldi ahead of Morbidelli here. Morbidelli looking for a move up the inside. As we head downhill, this is into the second sector on the track, but it's engine failure. Engine failure. That's very instant, but Morbidelli is out of the race. The footwork retires. The next target is the LaRousse of Olivier Beretta, who, of course, all these drivers we already overtook earlier on in the race, and we would not need to be re-overtaking them if that incident did not happen. As you can tell, I'm really annoyed by it, but we move past Beretta very easily as we head down and then up through Radion once again. And we're up to into the top 20. We've got about 16 laps to go in this race. Most likely I'll be 2 laps down by the end, so let's say 14 laps to go as Morbidelli's out of the race, so we're going to gain another position there. Moving on to lap 32, Pierluigi Martini, who was about 5 seconds ahead of me. I've closed that gap and I've overtaken him pretty easily. And then next up is my teammate, Kaya Mahendra. Yet again, we have not seen Mahendra for a number of laps since he punted me off the track. It was about here on track, wasn't it? A few laps ago. Hopefully there is no such contact this time. And on the following lap, lap 33, which is the lap I may be pitting, I've got a run here on my teammate. This should not cause any incidents between me and him unless he defends his position, which he doesn't. I'm back through and I'm up to 17th place, but as I said, I'm pitting this lap. I'm not sure if Mahendra behind and the Minardi behind him need to pit again, so if I am to stay ahead of Mahendra after the pit stop, I'm going to have to close the gap, which will be about 15 seconds. We are now 75% of the way through this Belgian Grand Prix, and Schumacher still leads the way from the two Williams drivers. Then Schumacher's teammate Verstappen in 4th. We're currently looking at a Lazy, who was in a championship battle earlier on in the season, right now in 5th place with Brundle in the McLaren in 6th. Both Streamline Engineering cars, Mahendra and Salo, into the top 20, so it's looking good for a double finish for the Streamline team. So here we are into the pits and stopping on our marks to be serviced for the second and final time in this race. And of course we're looking at maybe 10 laps. Well, I'm going to fill up with less than 10 laps of fuel because I know I'm already a lap, maybe 2 laps behind, so I'm not going to have to do the full 44 lap distance of this race. And we're going to rejoin almost side by side with the LaRousse there of Olivier Beretta, but we're going to rejoin, we're still in the top 20, 20th place right now. We've got about 10 laps left in this Grand Prix. Lap 35, and this is my chance to overtake Beretta for, I'm sure this is maybe the 3rd or 4th time this race that we're going to overtake this one driver. But we move up into 19th place, and Pierluigi Martini, who was about 3 seconds behind before we pit, is now only 4 seconds ahead. I don't know if these guys pit, surely they haven't, but they're only 4 seconds ahead, which means my teammate's only about 5.5 seconds ahead, and we've got about 8 laps to go before the checker flag falls. Can we do it? Can we catch them? It's now lap 36 and race leader Michael Schumacher is into the pits for his final stop. Has Senna managed to close the gap enough? He has. There's Senna. Senna, who's I think already had his second stop. Well, he has earlier on. I think he's had 3 stops now. He takes the race lead. So Ayrton Senna back in the race lead. And his teammate Damon Hill is in 3rd place. Michael Schumacher rejoins in 2nd. Zanardi, who's the only Lotus left in the race, is, well, his engine's now smoking, and just when Morbidelli retired a few laps earlier, Zanardi's going to do the exact same thing for the same reasons. Engine failure sees the 2nd Lotus and the 1st out of this Belgian Grand Prix. Martini and Mahendra having a great battle up front. This is probably why I've closed the gap so quickly. It's only lap 38, only a few laps after I came out the pits, and I'm already almost on the back of them. By the end of the Kemmel Straight, I'm sure we'll be right behind them, or maybe beside them, as we're on to the Kemmel Straight now. And there's Martini looking for a way past my teammate Mahendra. He pulls to the inside. I'm going to get in the slipstream and pull to the inside of both of them. We're going to go 3 wide down the Kemmel Straight, and under braking I go up the inside of both Martini and Mahendra to claim a double overtake and 17th place in this Grand Prix. Well, here it is. It's the final lap, and we're looking at Ayrton Senna just in front of Michael Schumacher. This battle has been raging on for a number of laps, but with only the final 2 corners to go, Senna, who's had to pit an extra time, is going to win by the skin of his teeth the 1994 Belgian Grand Prix. And here we are. You can see it's getting very, very dark, but we are on the last lap now. Lap 42 of 44 for me, as I'm 2 laps down on the leaders. But any more time in this race, it may have started raining, which would have thrown up absolute chaos on the circuit. But this race has been a good example of Mika Salo's ability to overtake. We've had some absolutely stunning overtakes in this Grand Prix, and we're going to cross the line to finish in 17th. Hardly any retirements. 17th and 18th is a double finish for Streamline, so that is a positive. And here are the race results from the Belgian Grand Prix. Ayrton Senna wins, less than half a second ahead of Michael Schumacher. It got very close at the end, and Michael Schumacher setting the fastest lap of the race near the end as well, when he was piling on the pressure on the Brazilian of Senna. Damon Hill finishing in 3rd, a good result for him, with Jos Verstappen in 4th. John Alesi, due to both Benetton's and Williams finishing, can only manage 5th place, and Martin Brundle picking up a point for 6th. Mika Häkkinen a lap down and in 7th place. Both Saubers finishing in the top 10, yet neither of them scoring points. Both Ligiers in 12th and 13th. And surprisingly, we had 22 finishers, only 6 retirements, which is the lowest of the season by quite some distance. I was hoping, with both streamlines finishing, that we would be able to maybe pick up a top 10, but it just didn't happen for us today. So 17th and 18th for Salo and Mahendra. Absolutely no change in the drivers' standings, nobody moving positions, but Senna extending his lead at the top. I'm not sure Michael Schumacher has any chance really against Senna now. It looks like Senna will win the Drivers' Championship, but of course anything can still happen with 6 races to go. But at the moment the gap is 25 points at the top. John Alesi, his title, well, it was slim title hopes anyway, but his even slimmer title hopes now being that far off the top. Jos Verstappen in 4th. Gerhard Berger still in the top 5, even though he only raced, was it 4 races this year? He's still in the top 5. Damon Hill closing in on him though, and surely Hill will eventually overtake him. And a quick look at the constructors, where no positions have changed again. Williams extending their lead at the top though. The gap is now 12 points back to 2nd place Benetton, and Ferrari sadly is slowly but surely falling off the top 2. It's looking more and more like what real life was in 1994. McLaren extending their lead over Tyrrell in the battle for 4th place, and only 8 teams have scored points this season. And on to the feeder series results. There was a race at Spa in Formula 3000. There was also races in German Formula 3 and British Formula 3, a race at Levante in the Italian Formula 3 Championship. Hronsky doing very well there. We had races at Suzuka in the Japanese Formula 3. Formula 3 South America was in action as well. British Formula Ford, was in action. And of course, Australian Formula Ford, the season has already ended. And that's it, guys, for today's episode. I'm sorry about the wait. I've been very busy with university and real life work that I haven't had time. But here we are, we're back. And hopefully I won't miss another week. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.